So today I'm gonna tell you something about urban development in Pyongyang and try to shed light on the hidden patterns which we usually don't think about. I will start with a brief introduction, what Pyongyang is from the urban studies perspective. Then, as you required and you offered, I will talk about 3 points: socio-spatial inequalities in Pyongyang, real estate market, and how does activization of urban development in Pyongyang influence the economic development in the country. So let's get started. Before I will present the results, I want to explain you what kind of methodology and what kind of sources do I use. The thing is that my major is urban geography. So usually for me, the main source is a map. But since we are living in the 21st century, of course, the main source for us is satellite images. But I have a chance for field trip and on-site observation. However, it is not really possible to observe everything, while the satellite images in historical perspective, they give us a unique chance to analyze the patterns of development in the city, and this is very useful. And of course, I use first and secondary sources as well as interviews with the factors and experts in the field. So let's get started with a brief introduction of what Pyongyang is. We all hear many rumors around Pyongyang, right? It's a mysterious city, it's a sacred place. So Pyongyang has a very long history, right? Because according to the mythology, Pyongyang served as the first capital of the ancient Korean country, Gojoseon. However, today, Pyongyang is very different. The population is about 3.2 million inhabitants. And the thing is that Pyongyang is a privileged city because only privileged people can. We have to understand that to live in the city is actually they give you a privileged status from the beginning, because those who live in all the cities, they are, how to say, their place in the social hierarchy, according to the local standards, is higher than those who were unfortunate who was born in the rural areas. So Pyongyang, how do North Koreans maintain the size of Pyongyang? There are a couple of local laws, and what is important is that migration to Pyongyang is strictly prohibited, as well as to another cities in North Korea. To migrate to another city or another place, you have to obtain the special permission. That's how North Koreans institutionally, how to say, prevent urbanization development and try to protect the city size. So this is a crucial part of North Korean urban policy. And the thing is that only those who made a significant contribution to the country's development can migrate to Pyongyang. Other people, they just cannot. Since I'm a scholar in urban studies, I have to tell you that it's very significant that there is no suburbs in the sense we understand it. Suburbs didn't form around Pyongyang. It says a lot about the city and about the policy, urban policy, which the locals implement to freeze the urban development around the capital. Let's check out how Pyongyang was developing. We all know that the city was the main theater of the Korean War, during the Korean War, and of course it was almost completely destroyed. However, under the influence of the Soviet Union and socialist bloc countries, the city started to be reconstructed from the 1950s. And you probably heard this phrase, Pyongyang speed, right? And so this is the term the locals use to describe this significant construction campaign which held in North Korea to reconstruct its cities, primarily Pyongyang, of course. But we have to point out that Pyongyang always has a long story of apartment of shortage. And it's still a case, even despite all this recent development happened, which we, read about. So we see here that in each decade, from starting from 1950s, Pyongyang, there were a couple of residential areas which were constructed in Pyongyang. From decade to decade, the city was redeveloping. However, we need to put a special attention on the last decade, because when Kim Jong-un came to the power, it seems that he made focus on urban development and urban construction as a strategy to revitalize the whole economy of the country. And it all started with this glamorous high-rise streets of Mirequahakchakuri and Roman Street, right? In the 90s, in the middle of 90s, DPRK went through the so-called arduous march, right? And probably the most severe economic crisis in contemporary North Korean history. But this economic crisis made possible for market to emerge. And as we know, the market started to develop from Chanmadan. And we actually need to point, nobody point attention on that, but Chanmadans, they first emerged in the cities, right? So cities are always the places where we can fix the socio-economic development, contemporary, happening in the society. And so, because the markets emerged and the market as an institution emerged, of course, there are some features. We will not discuss them because we don't have just time for that. And because of the market emerged, of course, also the strata, the people who were encouraged to make business, to do business, to earn money. Because of that, the special strata, which we call Tongju or Dongju, emerged. And they literally just reach strata of people who dealing with business and try to earn money as everywhere in the world. However, because of the weak banking system and instability with local currency, and we know the examples, how it worked in North Korea, so because of that, Tongju started to look where they could invest money to protect them, because it's not everybody who has money wants to invest them, right? Not to hide them under the pillow, but they want to have a profit. And so this logic works here as well. So what was happening? Tongju started to co-invest into the urban construction. And from the urban studies perspective, what we need to point out here, the two crucial moments. The first one is that it is easily to observe and to detect from the satellite images that in Pyongyang contemporary, we hear that the development in Pyongyang is held the form of residential districts, right? Like Mirequahakcha, Remount Street, but it's not true, because as you see on the picture on your left, there are many areas, it's just a picture of one of them. There are many areas in Pyongyang where we can detect infill development. So it's like single towers, single buildings around usually one-story area, That's why it's very important, because it means that it's not only residential districts where Tongju want to invest the money, but probably and it's highly likely that also they invest into the infill towers, because there is no other reason that the government will build a single building around one-story area in the different parts of Pyongyang, located actually close to transport stations, to like objects of social infrastructure and other objects. So this is actually the subject I'm working on right now. And the second point we need to figure out is that the new residential districts, they are significant with a big number of service points. So what we can detect here is a commercialization of urban fabric. Because if you remember what we have seen before from Pyongyang, I mean the pictures of Pyongyang, it was kind of hard to detect any shop or like for example, barber shop or anything, any place providing service. However, everything has been changed. These new residential districts, they look like consumption paradise, like let's say in the reality of Pyongyang, because you can find there not only like supermarkets or anything like or grocery shops, but also like places which kind of provide an exotic service like coffee shop, like barber shop, the place which for example selling this jelly beers or anything like very interesting places, pizza shop or anything like this. So how does it work? How Tongju invest into and how it became possible in the US socialist country for this kind of strata to Tongju to be able to invest into the construction and then make a profit from that. So the problem or the thing is that the state invest, of course, according to the law and according to the standards. All the construction, it's only supervised and held by the state. However, there is a crucial problem because state as an institution cannot provide all the sources, all the financial sources, all the construction materials to finish this project. And this is the place for Tongju to offer a help. So this is a beneficial symbiosis between the state and Tongju, because state, by using this opportunity, they kind of glorify the regime, because they say, look what we can do. We can construct this kind of enormous magnificent residential complexes. From the other side, Tongju using this and making money because they invest and then get profit. Actually, the main part of all the apartments in newly constructed buildings, they go to Tongju in favor to the investments, not to the state allocation system. It's just very small number of apartments which go to like someone who stayed to give it for free. So, and this is a place for cooperation, mutual beneficial cooperation. In principle, let's check how it works. In principle, so there are three parties involved into the construction, any construction. This is the National Planning Commission, the organization Ordinary Construction, and construction companies. So the National Planning Commission is the main body responsible for all the constructions held in North Korea. So what they do, they actually establish all the construction plans, they supervise, they like review, they kind of like, it's kind of how to say, supervising body. Second is organizations ordering construction. And this is actually a very interesting thing because they supervise the construction process, right? So they in touch with both the National Planning Committee because they need to, to communicate with them, and also they control construction companies which make the construction itself. So the organization ordering construction. The funny fact that is any company, a legal company which is registered in North Korea can serve as organization ordering construction, even if this organization doesn't have anything common with construction. So actually, those who want to construct a building, for example, how it works, right? I just try to explain. They just find so-called umbrella companies which provide them a necessary like protection to show the government that, oh, here is a plan, here is a company and we want to initiate this construction. So literally, Tongju even don't need anything. I mean, to deal with any institutional, with any like government institutions. They just pay money for this organization who can serve them, can be their umbrella companies. And this is also kind of very funny, at least was for me. So, and we are coming to the golden age of Juche style architecture. Recently in Rodong Shinmun, there are so many articles related to so-called golden age of architecture, and of course with focus to Pyongyang, because in 2021, Kim Jong-un offered a huge campaign to construct 50,000 apartments in Pyongyang during 5 years. And as we know, this process is like impressive because we see the clear results, right? Because it's all started in 2021, right? When this campaign was announced. And from that time, we see that in Pyongyang, there is a significant number of projects which are reported to be finished. It's not, and actually, here's also a feature from the urban studies perspective, which we have to point out. So we know probably about this Honghua Street, Hwasong Street, actually Hwasong Street. They finished first and second stage, recently second stage, and there will be also the third stage. So it's now under the progress. And recently, probably April or May. So Chongwi Street, right? And also we shouldn't forget that there was a Potonggang Riverside Terraced residential district. Why I put an attention on that project? Because Songhua, Hwasong, and Chongwi streets, they are typical, let's say, standard North Korean residential districts with high-rise towers, right? They just try to glorify the achievements of the regime. However, the Potong River terraced residential districts is different because it's not high-rise residential district. So it seems there are so many speculations in academic debates right now why North Koreans all of a sudden chose this kind of project. As per me, I think that North Koreans try to, because currently in urban studies, we have a strong opinion that the high-rise housing is not very good way to organize the housing. About what's going on currently in Pyongyang. Pyongyang is just one place, right, where this construction is happening. But it means that, to realize, to finish this kind of huge projects, we need at least construction materials, right? And if we don't produce them in enough, right? So then we just will not be able to finalize them. So that's why actually, if you are what I'm doing right now also is the second part of my job, I'm trying to make a context analysis into all the articles published in Rodong Shinmun started from 2021. And what I found out is that it is a significant growth of the articles mentioning that they increased the amount of cement or amount of steel production in different places. It's not only one place. So it's a numerous number of fabrics. And second is that they try to attempt to implement this new regional policy, which the essence of which is actually to revitalize the economy of the regions and to accelerate the rural development. And this is very surprising because previously rural areas, how to say, North Korean regime didn't mention them that often, at least as they do now. If you check the number and the amount of, not amount, the size of the articles now in Rodong Sinmun, which dedicate to rural development, it's surprisingly growing, and they're discussing a variety of issues, which is also very interesting. Also, they try to construct social infrastructure places and many fabrics, industrial objects. So, and as we see, this development, urban development in Pyongyang, not only support the development of Pyongyang itself, but because of that, the whole economy, the different layers, industrial, social development, intensification of production, not only construction materials, but as we see, there are so many new industrial objects like fabrics. And the strategy was quite successful because they not only accelerated urban development of Pyongyang, but they also pushed the national economy, and not only around Pyongyang, but in different places, in different regions of North Korea, to revitalize to some extent. We don't know the scale, but we see that something new is constructed, right? So that's why I think it's very important.
Thank you so much for very informative information on real estate, say geography and then political geography of then your research is fascinating to many of us. I think it's but can you, it's more let's start with some details. Can you elaborate or explain a little bit more about Jung district? You emphasize again and again, so I mean you said Gonju and then Novohishin, and they cannot get in this gated community of nomenclatura. And then they are actually the major force in the, say, new apartment complexes you suggested, right? And then I think this is pretty interesting, social mixture, strata, the mixture, in this, new, apartment complex. But, we're quite curious. And then where does money come from? And then don't person you say it's enormous, the capital you say, but I brought some money from outside to combine and invest in the Pyongyang's in a new apartment complex.
Actually, this is complicated, and we don't know the truth for 100% because it's just like, however, there are results of interviews made with not only defectors, but actually with North Koreans currently living in North Korea and who deal with business, different spheres, right? Where Tongju or those who deal with business can make big money. Mostly, it is the areas of, it's kind of like the sectors, the primary sector, let's say like this. So it's fishery, and actually, so many people who have money, they do something with fishery. I actually was surprised about that, but they sell it mostly to China, and that's where they get money from. Not only fishery, also I hear the stories about, you will be surprised, excavation of coal and other things. Also, some of them became rich by doing trade, being involved in trade with China. So they literally buy this cheap Chinese stuff and then try to resell it in local markets. It's also actually kind of beneficial from the financial perspective. Yeah, and recently what I heard, they kind of, all this fishery, extraction of natural resources. This is kind of beneficial. But what I have heard is that they told me that it's just not comparable with that profit they can get from real estate.
Real estate, I think it's the most, say, front line of the capitalist competition. I think it's just happening in South Korea. South Korea has a so-called, Seoul and Seoul's Gangnam area. But I think it's the Gangnam of Seoul, of South Korea, and then Junggu, and then or new apartment complex of Pyongyang of North Korea. I think it's a too tricky, question to you, but do you see some similarities and distinctions between these two South Korean real estate in headquarters and then, North Korean real estate headquarters in Pyongyang and in Seoul?
Actually, maybe Hwan Shin-tae 교수님 from Dongguk University. He actually called Chunggu of Pyongyang, Chunggu-guyok, as North Korean Gangnam.
Oh, right.
But yes, he published an article actually in Korean where he called it as Gangnam of Pyongyang. But the thing is that it's very different, let's say, because Chunggu, as I told you, is mainly preserved from the urban development, right? They have some development projects, but it's like not in the center of Chunggu. While Gangnam is literally, it used to be field, right? Like
Right.
50 years ago. And now it's like enormously expensive residential and commercial area, business district. And Pyongyang is different. I mean, it's just very different because the level of capitalism development is very different in two countries. So in Pyongyang, we say that they have market. A market is emerged and is developing, right? But it's still uncomparable with those we have in other countries of Asia. Because in South Korea is, I think, very capitalist oriented country, right? It's nothing bad with that. It's just another way. So that's why I think, no, I cannot compare them. I think they are very different. However, I think if North Korea will become a really, like, not pseudo, not semi-market economy, of course, the market forces will shake these walls and the gated community just cannot exist
Right.
in a free market economy.
Okay. Thank you for your excellent and very informative, presentation, and then very say another information round of discussion with me. Good to have you and happy to have you. Hope we can see you soon and then have more working and collaboration relationship. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me and have a great day.
Okay.